Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Have you ever caught yourself completely trusting a website just because of the letters at the very end of its URL? We literally see them every single day, right? .com, .org, .edu, .gov. But what do those little extensions actually tell us about the content we're consuming? To kick things off, let's tackle a really provocative question. It challenges a massive assumption most of us make every time we sit down to research something online. Does a .gov or a .edu actually guarantee you're reading the absolute truth? I mean, we're kind of hardwired to trust these sites implicitly, but as we'll see as we dig into the actual architecture of the internet, assuming a website is completely secure and factual just because of three letters, that's a pretty risky game.
Let's rewind all the way back to 1985. Looking at the original ARPANET documentation, these top-level domain extensions were literally just introduced as filing cabinets. They were meant to be clear indicators of a website's underlying purpose and its organizational structure. So .com was meant for commercial entities, .edu was strictly educational, .net for network providers, .org for miscellaneous nonprofits, and .gov specifically for the US government. They were essentially just simple sorting mechanisms, designed to tell you the intent of the organization way before the modern internet even existed.
And this brings us to something super interesting known as the trust halo effect. A recent Growth Badger survey of about 1,500 people perfectly illustrates this. It shows how everyday internet users place this heavy psychological weight on familiar extensions. People inherently trust .com URLs the most, giving them a 3.5 out of 5 on a trust scale, literally just because they recognize them. In fact, that same study found that when people misremember a URL, they are nearly 4 times more likely to just assume it ends in .com. We naturally just conflate familiarity with actual trustworthiness.
But here's the kicker. That trust halo, it's largely a myth. Even the search engines know it. Take Google's John Mueller, for instance. He pointed out that because everyday users and marketers falsely believe .edu links inherently carry more authority, well, those sites become massive targets for spam. And because they get spammed so heavily, Google's algorithms routinely have to just completely ignore a ton of the links on .edu sites. The extension alone doesn't magically bestow quality or truth.
I actually really like to think of domain extensions as digital uniforms. Think about it. A police uniform or a graduation gown immediately implies authority in a very specific role, but you still absolutely need to verify that the person actually wearing it is who they say they are. A domain extension is exactly the same thing. It's a digital uniform telling you what the site claims to be: commercial, nonprofit, educational, governmental. But the uniform doesn't guarantee the integrity of the person wearing it, and it definitely doesn't guarantee the site hasn't been compromised.
For instance, acquiring the .gov uniform is incredibly strict. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, manages the .gov space. To get one of these, you must be a verified US-based government organization. And not only that, the request requires direct, verified authorization from a senior executive, like an agency head. It is a highly guarded digital space.
On the flip side, the .edu space operates a bit differently. You'd probably assume every .edu is a currently accredited US university, right? Well, actually, scratch that. There's this totally obscure grandfather clause. Basically, any .edu name that was in existence as of October 29, 2001 is completely exempt from the current strict eligibility requirements. Research from Domain Tools shows that thousands of non-US, non-traditional, and sometimes entirely unaccredited entities are still out there operating legacy .edu domains today. It really muddies the waters of that supposed educational authority.
But okay, here is where things go from kind of messy to genuinely concerning. What happens when the underlying infrastructure of the internet itself fails? Researchers at Stanford University published a paper called Risky Business, and they discovered that over 500,000 domains have been silently exposed to hijacking. Yes, over 512,000, and this includes those highly restricted .edu and .gov sites. This isn't happening because of weak passwords. It's due to this totally bizarre, undocumented practice by domain registrars involving something called sacrificial name servers.
So how does this exploit actually play out in the wild? It's like a giant puzzle. Say a registrar needs to delete a domain, but that domain's back-end name servers are still being used by other sites. The system blocks the deletion. To force it through, registrars will quietly rename those back-end servers to a random abandoned .biz address. All an attacker has to do is notice this, pay a couple bucks to register that abandoned .biz name, and boom! Suddenly they control all the traffic that was meant for the trusted institutional site.
The absolute most crucial takeaway here is that by exploiting this underlying infrastructure loophole, bad actors can hijack the authority of a .gov or a .edu domain without ever actually hacking the organization itself. Once they control that traffic, they can run devastating phishing campaigns, they can intercept emails, or even generate perfectly valid fake security certificates. They are wearing that trusted digital uniform, completely bypassing all those strict CISA or EDUCAUSE registration rules we just talked about.
Ultimately, always keep the core lesson of this explainer in mind. A domain extension is merely an indicator of a website's intended purpose, whether that's commercial, nonprofit, educational, or governmental. It is absolutely not a guarantee of truth. The next time you're conducting research and you come across a highly restricted URL, you must still critically evaluate the content, the author, and the claims before just blindly trusting it. So, as you continue browsing today, ask yourself, just because a website is wearing a trusted digital uniform, how do you really know who's pulling the strings behind the URL?